right now, there are holes as big as school buses in budgets from sea to shining sea as districts make drastic cuts to stay afloat. The LA school system sent out 5,000 layoff notices. Detroit could close 40 schools. Some classes in Cleveland could be jammed with as many as 45 students. Schools in Florida may have to cut art, music, and gym. In all, 9
I love children, and so I thought, that was one way I can really use my talents, my passion. I always knew that my, layoff notice would come, but just to know that that would happen to 67% of our school is, just heartbreaking.
I'm devastated to lose my job. I will do what I have to do to be okay, but as far as our students, they will not be okay.
Doomsday is a pretty good description of this budget, a plan that relies solely on cuts and layoffs.
The New York State Senate moments ago voting to give 100,000 New York State workers one unpaid day off a week.
If we get furloughed, how long do you think it's going to take to get a license? How many potholes are going to be left on the road? The state workers are the ones that take care of your community, and if we go, that's going to go too.
Where UCLA students are protesting major tuition hikes being put in place across the state university system.
We are going to make sacrifices. It doesn't mean that we can't still deliver the best educational product for our students. We don't want them to feel the impact of the budget cutbacks, but we certainly are looking at enrollment. Who can afford to attend this state university?
Members of Congress are back home holding town hall meetings on the issue. There's been a pattern of disruption.
Want to kill my grandparents? You come through me first.
I think Brown's election means the end of the health care proposal.
There are so many people who are falling through the cracks, who need health care.
The patient will request that certain tests not be done. I don't have health insurance. Do I really need that x-ray?
There's 74 full-time teachers at Central Falls High School in Rhode Island. But by June, all of them could be out of work, fired for failing to turn around one of the lowest performing schools in the state.
If passed, the merit pay law would affect every public school in this state. The plan scraps the current teacher pay system. It gets rid of tenure and ties salaries to students' performance on the FCAT and other exams.
A lot of what we do doesn't really reflect on just test scores. But if that was the only thing that would define what kind of a teacher I am, then I would lose my job for no reason.
We'll be pounding the pavement to urge passage of the Federal Recovery Act as quickly as possible.
Our main job today is to really humanize a lot of the numbers that are behind the stimulus package so that the senators and their staff realize that there are a lot of human faces behind what we're discussing today.
We need for there to be no cuts to Head Start, to the Child Care Development Block Grant. And also, we wanted to stress the importance of class sizes and just no cuts to education.
It's good that AFT's got this campaign, Fight for America's Future, so people understand that we're fighting for not just our own constituents within the AFT, but we're fighting for the nation to make sure the economy is rolling and that people can get back to work.
So let me say to the nation's school administrators, public policy makers, and opinion leaders, before you take on the teachers' union, think of whom you're taking on. Think of the teacher who is staying up past midnight to prepare her lesson plan. She deserves your support, not your scorn.
You have the responsibility to shape their minds and their hearts and their value systems. You fight for what you believe in by being active in your union, and when you fight for what you believe in, you help students.
Are we ready to fight for our children? In front of me are students, parents, teachers, other school employees, community members, and concerned citizens. Are we ready to fight for our kids?
Be part of this change. Don't let them continue to blame teachers for all of the ills of society. Let's be part of turning around the Detroit schools.
Now we have even a bigger problem, the economy.
As PSRPs, we know our jobs are usually first to go to privatization and downsizing.
They wanted to privatize our buses, they wanted to privatize our custodians, and they wanted to privatize our nutrition services. So we knew very quickly we had to change the narrative, and we had to do it fast.
Several individuals from the national organization came in and built this plan centered around good schools, good services, and good people. Really listening to what the classified do on a day-to-day basis. For them to be able to tell their stories, and then also for us to talk about these stories in front of people within our system, it was a very powerful tool for us.
The superintendent of schools, because of the union, who never said no, she's using this as her excuse for firing an entire faculty.
It is not fair to the students of Central Falls to disrupt their education by potentially removing the one constant in their school lives, their teachers.
They help us in our schoolwork. If we have family problems, they help us with everything.
And I look around and I see family.
All I had to look forward to is coming to school, seeing my teachers smile at me, pushing me forward when I didn't think I could make it.
Florida is in serious trouble if Senate Bill 6 is not vetoed by our governor within the next 6 days. If there can be a silver lining in the battle that we've been fighting for the last 4 weeks, it's that our union continues to grow. Our members are rallying like I have never seen them before.
We are going to do everything we can to promote the people who work for this state, who work for local governments, who work for the university system, everything we can to bring the attention of the people of the state to the work that matters. And it really has everything to do with quality, performance, providing the goods and services, the programs that Montanans expect to get from their government.
You are that indispensable link between people who need public service and the fact that the state works. And anything we can do, particularly in tough times, to shine the light on how indispensable that is, we're going to do.
The working people and the working families of New Jersey are taking a stand against the governor. We're tired of hearing shared sacrifices when we're the only ones who seem to be sacrificing.
We can save our seniors, save our schools.
He's kind of pink slipped the whole damn state, you know, from local governments, municipal, everybody's getting hurt.
All of the hospitals in New Jersey have either felt the cuts already or really anticipating large cuts, and it certainly has an effect on the patients, and those are the people that we see every day and that we're most concerned about.
Today you see people in unions and the public at large are joining the unions to say enough already.
They are always paying for these cuts by reducing the amount of money that is spent in the classroom, on our students, on instruction directly.
A core group of marchers have been on the road to California's future. Today, I and we had the privilege of marching with them for the last mile of their trek. They are awesome!
For the last 48 days, we've been walking through the Central Valley, down 2-lane roads into some 33 different cities. We've met teachers, we've met classified employees, community members, all of whom are very frustrated by what's happening to our state.
No more cuts! No more cuts!
We're hoping that we're loud enough on the steps of the Capitol that the assemblymen and state senators hear us as well.
Measures 66 and 67 show the tax measures are neck and neck, and both sides are working today to get last-minute voters on their side.
With balloons and literature in hand, local teachers tried to convince last-minute voters that passing Measure 66 and 67 would save Oregon schools.
I think both of these are good measures because they don't affect most Oregonians.
Now, if approved, 66 and 67 are expected to bring in tens of millions of dollars to the state, money proponents believe Oregon needs to keep education and social services intact.
We're
workers need the Employee Free Choice Act.
We get support on an employee to have the right to union representation.
They don't want us to have a voice in our companies when we deserve to have a voice, have fairness in our workplace.
We will get health care for each and every American.
The AFT is one of the strongest voices, not just for education, but on the whole issue of health care reform. And in that respect, they're being educators and advocates for all Americans.
Health care! They're going up to talk about health care with members of Congress and Hill staffers. We have over 120 members lobbying today.
We have the capacity to put people in the streets, to organize lobbying efforts. And it falls on our shoulders to lead that fight.
The Congress people were really hammered with anger and questions based upon fear and false facts. And so our members went and said, here's how it really is. And this is why we really need it.
The greed of the insurance companies has got to come to an end, and today is the beginning of that end.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Filling in the bubbles on a standardized test isn't going to prepare our children to succeed in life. If we're going to thrive in the 21st century, our entire approach to education must change from what goes on in the classroom to how we care for children's well-being to how labor and management work together.
We have the teacher lady of all time here. Let me ask you about something. There are bad teachers.
The real Rosetta Stone here, to crack this code, is to come up with better teacher development and evaluation systems.
We're saying there should be shared responsibility. All of us have to step up. And so we're talking to our locals around the country about taking risks, doing things differently, because it's about what do we do to help kids learn in this global economy.
At our school, our staff and faculty have received, I think, 11 pink slips. And what we've done is we've actually set up chairs in our lobby of our school representing each of those faculty and staff receiving a pink slip. We have pink hearts on these chairs. Seeing that, that visual display, it's really hitting home for a lot of people.
If you've seen a lot of people wearing pink today, you can bet they are supporting educators who have received pink slips.
Principal Schumann's students rallied on this Pink Friday. The different shades of pink were hard to miss as they trekked uphill and down many blocks. Save our schools!
Teachers and their supporters handed out information cards with a pink heart to urge the public to help save their jobs.
The American Federation of Teachers Mississippi announced a campaign called Pink Hearts, Not Pink Slips.
The teachers put their heart and souls into teaching. Don't give them pink slips.
Why would you lay off teachers without exploring every possible option?
Federation is spearheading a campaign to get more of the Norfolk City budget allocated to our schools.
300,000 teachers that could possibly be losing their jobs next year. Now, this is obviously bad news for us. It's worse news for the American economy. And I'm telling you, it's devastating news for American children.
I was told with 70 other teachers from my school district that we're not going to get our jobs next year. Pick up the newspaper and I see that Wall Street gets all this help from the government, and I'm just wondering, when are the kids going to get helped? Because right now I'm just going to see a lot of kids are going to be directly affected from this blow in education.
The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act that I will sign today is the most sweeping economic recovery package in our history. It's the product of broad consultation and the recipient of broad support from business leaders, unions, public interest groups.
Public school teachers in D.C. now have a proposed deal 2.5 years after their last contract expired.
We have a contract that I believe, number one, gives our teachers the kind of supports and resources that our teachers need in order to provide the kind of quality of education that our children need.
Tonight, Oregon voters approved 2 ballot measures that raise taxes on some Oregonians.
Roaring approval, this crowd gathered in Northeast Portland. The two measures combined will provide schools, healthcare, and public safety agencies in Oregon a combined $335 million a year.
Our board meetings went from about 10 people to 1,200 people at our final board meeting in March. And at that meeting, we had two board members that immediately said, we're not going to privatize, and basically took it off the table.
You all are at the front lines. You do the heavy lifting in communities, in hospitals, in clinics, in delivering health care. And thank you for the work you did on health reform. Thank you for the work you do every day. Thank you.
I veto Senate Bill 6 because this bill is contrary to my firmly held principle to act in the best interest of the people of Florida. Senate Bill 6 places teachers in jeopardy of losing their jobs and their teaching certificates without a clear understanding of how gains will be measured and without taking into account circumstances beyond the teacher's control.
And I am very, very pleased to announce that the teachers this afternoon overwhelmingly ratified the settlement agreement that Dr. Gallo and I reached on Saturday evening. I am so proud of our teachers at Central Falls High School. They should be commended for their professionalism. They have always put the students first. I hope the rest of the country can learn from our experience and avoid the pitfalls of mass terminations. Cooperation and collaboration are necessary ingredients in school improvement.
We understand that a union itself is about providing representation on a job, giving workers a voice, affirming the dignity of work, enabling workers to both earn a decent living and make a valuable contribution to their workplace. But unions also work to build a certain kind of society, one that fosters social and economic justice, one that respects civil and human rights. Just as public education is the great equalizer for our students, the labor movement is the great equalizer for working people. The labor movement is central to rebuilding America's middle class and to providing economic mobility and security to all Americans.